next episode in our series is Australia's UFO files. The National Archives of Australia holds a number of records relating to UFOs, flying saucers, and other unidentified aerial phenomena. The documents became available in August 2012 under Australia's 30-year rule. This rule orders the release of government documents 30 years after they were created. Most of these records date from the 1950s to the 1970s, when public interest in UFOs was high and many sightings were reported to the Commonwealth authorities. There was no specific government agency designated for collecting and analyzing these sightings, so responsibility fell within the Royal Australian Air Force. Reports were collected from military personnel, pilots, air traffic controllers, meteorologists, and the general public. Some reports were also gathered by other agencies like the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, the Joint Intelligence Organization, the Weapons Research Establishment, and the Department of Transport, because of their involvement in intelligence, research, or air safety. Currently, they are no longer taking UFO reports. By the 1970s, UFO sightings had become so commonplace that the Royal Australian Air Force provided a pro forma questionnaire to members of the public. The form had 14 questions for the observer, then they were referred to local civilian UFO investigating agencies. The completed forms and the reports of the unusual aerial sightings can be viewed in the online archives. Part 1 consisted of the report by the observer with basic information. Part 2 of the unit report details any additional information such as aircraft activity, meteorological, research weather balloons, and radar readings. Part 3 was the investigating officer's evaluation. During the peak of interest in UFOs, the RAAF investigated some reports trying to establish whether the sighting could be attributed to low-flying aircraft, weather balloons, or other weather-related phenomena. One interesting document is a 2-page letter written on July 24, 1960 from a security officer to the Maralinga Range Commander. The letter outlines the comprehensive investigation into reports of UFO sightings in the Woomera Prohibited Area. In the early 60s, more than 40 top-secret nuclear weapons tests were conducted there under the codename Vixen. The letter mentions a total of 6 witnesses seeing a light that varied between 2 and 15 seconds. In the letter, one suggestion was that the cause could have been the phenomena known as St. Elmo's fire. The nitrogen and oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere cause St. Elmo's fire to give off a blue or violet light and usually only occurs during a thunderstorm. The witnesses described, quote, a white light traveling from east to west. As it appeared to come nearer or grow larger, it turned to a red color, end quote. The letter also refers to an independent investigation done by Health Physics Officer Mr. Oliver Harry Turner. It says, quote, he is of the opinion that the light was not the result of a natural phenomena but caused by an unidentified flying object, either a cone from a satellite or a flying saucer, unquote. The letter goes on to say, quote, it is felt that all avenues of inquiry at Maralinga have now been covered and it is not possible to positively identify the source of the light. It is felt, however, that the light was a result of either a meteor or static electricity, unquote. Other files reveal failed attempts by the Australian government to identify some of the objects. For example, on June 30th, 1983, radar reporting units at RAAF Base Williamtown launched Operation Close Encounter. 2 Royal Australian Air Force Mirage jets were placed on standby as base personnel made attempts to determine the cause of unidentified radar contacts seen on screen at Mascot during the month of May and throughout June. After investigation, they concluded the radar contacts were probably false readings. The lack of a coherent threat solidified the official position that much of the RAAF's involvement in the UFO controversy fell outside the military domain. Another peculiar story from the files, which made international headlines, involves the disappearance of 20-year-old Frederick Valentish. On October 21, 1978, he was flying a Cessna 182L light aircraft from Melbourne, Victoria to King Island just off the south coast. After refueling in Moorabbin, the pilot established two-way radio communication with the Melbourne Flight Service Unit, also known as FSU. The following is a reenactment of the transcribed radio transmission. It was first broadcast in 2008 by ABC Radio National from a now discontinued radio show called Radio I.
Can you describe the aircraft? As it's flying past, it's a long shape. Cannot identify it. It has such speed. It's before me right now, Melbourne. How large would the object be? Seems like it's stationary. What it's doing right now is orbiting. The thing is just orbiting on top of me. It's also got a green light and a sort of metallic, like it's shiny on the outside.
At the end of the transmission, a metallic scraping sound is heard and communication was cut off and he was never heard from again. A wide search was conducted until October 25th, but nothing of the aircraft or pilot was ever found. The book Melbourne Episode, Case Study of a Missing Pilot, was published in 1986, written by former NASA research scientist Richard Haynes, who has recorded over 3,000 UFO reports. The first part of the book presents all relevant background information. The second part hypothetically reconstructs the last leg of Valentis' flight with 4 different theories for readers to consider and, using the evidence, draw their own conclusion about what took place. The third part covers details of the aftermath. Photos found in the archives reveal that in 1983, 5 years after the incident, parts of the plane wreckage that matched up with Valentis' Cessna washed up on Flinders Island, which is located across the bay from King Island with Bass Strait in between. According to newspaper articles, there were a total of 4 airplanes that had crashed in the area, and a film crew had made plans to excavate the wreckage. It is not known if this task was completed. Australia's most famous UFO case is an incredible mass sighting referred to as Westall 66. There were over 90 witnesses, many of them school children from Westall High School playing cricket. The witnesses reported seeing 3 objects on April 6th, one of which apparently landed behind a stand of trees for a short period before taking off again at great speed. It was reported that aircraft operating in the area had approached the object, but a search through the files in the National Archives of Australia didn't turn up any correlating reports. Some Westall witnesses suspect that the reason there are no reports in the archives, even though it was estimated that there were over 100 witnesses, is the government attempting to cover up the whole affair. Upon examination, civilian researchers found marks in the ground where the Westall UFO was believed to have landed. Newspaper articles from the time linked these marks to what was called the saucer nest phenomena, mysterious circular marks in the ground found throughout Australia. One possible explanation for the Westall sightings appeared in a newspaper article published in 1967, about a year after the incident. It said a group of scientists under Dr. Robert S. Powell were building flying saucers propelled by ammonia vapor and a high voltage spark that produced a mass of glowing gas, but this could not be confirmed. It has been 47 years since the sighting, and it still remains a mystery and has not been forgotten. A 50-minute documentary about the incident aired on Australian TV in June 2010. A local community council has also announced it will commemorate the sightings by building a playground with a replica of the UFO as described by the witnesses at the park where the sightings took place. Those are the Australian UFO files. For your need to know, I'm Alejandro Rojas.
If you have a UFO sighting or something you would like to report to Open Minds, you can go to our website at openminds.tv and click the contact button to send us your request. Or you can email us at contact@openminds.tv. You can also call us at 1-877-UFO-0110. That's 1-877-836-0110.